Bethesda, congratulations. So far, you're the winner of E3.
Yeah, this is the second. I mean, last year was the first, I believe, the first one they've done, and they had content, and this one also compared to EA, there was content, there was DLC, had the VR stuff was I had not heard about earlier. A couple of stuff we'd heard like about Quake and such, but it wasn't people sitting at a desk. It was trailers. It was gameplay.
Yeah. And that's the thing is we knew a decent, no, I shouldn't say decent amount, but a good portion of what they were going to be bringing to the table.
Hmm.
And even we had said that what can they really do? Because it's going to be Dishonored, it's going to be some ESO stuff, it's going to be the remaster of Skyrim. How much can they really show? And surprisingly enough, even still with that amount, and that and then throwing like for sure Quake on there and the remake of Prey, they still had plenty.
Hmm.
It's like they had less to show in a sense when you think about it than EA did,
Yeah.
and they brought so much more.
Hmm.
Like it was a total 180 because EA had 100 things they could show, and they decided we're gonna go with 6, and not even really show them. And Bethesda went, you know what? We've only got about 5 things to really show, and we're gonna give you 9.
Hmm. Yeah. It
It's
was.
like how are you getting more stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. It was very impressive, and yeah, it was. I was very impressed, but I had my hopes up for this, and they delivered to me. It was very, very good.
Yep, I didn't have as high hopes for Bethesda just because, like I said, I was interested in Dishonored too, but past that, it's like, what can they really bring? And they definitely knocked it out of the park for what they needed to. I don't know if they can have the best press conference because Sony and Microsoft are usually the top dogs,
Hmm.
but when it comes to what I'm going to consider Nintendo win, because Nintendo's not doing a whole lot this year, so Nintendo, EA, Bethesda. I know I'm missing one more in there.
Ubi.
Uh, Ubisoft, yeah. I think Bethesda's probably going to win this, even with what Ubisoft is bringing. We already know, like, they're going to have Wildlands and stuff like that. We know what they're bringing, and I think that Bethesda's going to win this one for, companies not named Sony and Microsoft.
Yeah, I agree. I
So,
agree.
all right, so real quick, before we talk about the games and stuff, a few things I got to get off my chest about this conference, though. One, I'm a big fan, or used to be, I guess, of Attack of the Show and G4 TV and all that stuff. And Adam Sessler, I think, is awesome. He was on, what was it, on Rev on
Hmm.
YouTube for a while, all
Yeah.
that stuff. Morgan Webb, maybe not as much, but oh my god, I was glad to see them together again. But were they boring in that pre-show or what?
Yeah, I think
Because
it's they have such good chemistry. I mean, watching, G4 TV and X Play, I think it was called.
yeah, X Play, thank you. Yeah,
But yeah, it was just kind of like they're reading stuff off a teleprompter, and it was just kind
yeah,
of, especially before the show started, it was like it was yeah, it was tough to listen to because they have such good chemistry, and it was just kind of eh.
yeah. And you can tell the teleprompter thing because they would switch to the I want to say it's not the hard camera, but the angle one that's getting just Sessler.
Hmm.
And he was still looking off to the side, and they've got those headsets on. They've got the the producer and stuff, letting him know what camera to look at. And he was never switching because you could tell he was reading,
Yeah.
which is not a thing of Adam Sessler. If you ever watched him on YouTube after he left G4 and he went to do his YouTube channel, like I said, I think it was like Rev Games or whatever,
Yeah.
he would go on rants, and they were great.
Hmm.
And you could just tell with this one, he was not ranting or shooting from the hip or anything. He was reading,
Yeah.
and that sucked.
Yes.
Uh, the other thing with them kind of is right behind them, dead center in the screen, that dude who seemed like he didn't want to be on camera and just kept doing stuff was so
Yes.
distracting. But then also during the show, especially when they were talking about Elder Scrolls Online, that woman that wouldn't stop screeching. You know, my favorite, when that guy was talking, my favorite quest back in Oblivion was the Brotherhood. Yay! Woo! Yeah, me too. And it's like, oh shut up.
Well, she's probably
Every
getting
time.
paid to cheer. That's what
That's almost what it felt like, because you really noticed it at the end when they go, these are the people that work for us, and they started bringing them up. You could hear her still cheering.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it did sound like somebody who worked for them, but
Yeah.
it's just like, oh my, every time they said something, Legends is a card game that, I really like to play. Yeah! It's like, really? All he said, was that he likes to play Legends. Calm it down just a little.
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
agree.
do multiplayer, which everybody hated. She's still cheering. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into Doom in a second because I got some thoughts on that. All right, so let's get to the show. Then we'll kick it off right at the start, right where they kicked it off. The reveal of Quake Champions, which I think some people knew Quake was coming. It was pretty much assumed that they were remaking Quake,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's revealed for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they after the success of Doom, they're probably thinking, let's go for it again. Even though they didn't say anything about single player. I know Quake is basically a big multiplayer thing.
Yeah, I think they pretty much said it's just gonna stick with the arena shooter,
Mm-hmm.
which is great because if for anybody who listened to my Doom review, I hate the fact that Doom was not an arena shooter.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're at least doing Quake, it almost feels. And I don't know if you saw this past week that id and Bethesda, they took over multiplayer.
I
For
read
Doom.
that. Good for them.
So, it's one of those like, okay, so taking over the multiplayer for Doom, they may have gone, oh, you know what? We learned while making Quake what you guys did wrong, and we're gonna fix it. But then also it's one of those things like, okay, we're gonna take it over, we're gonna fix a little bit, but now we're gonna have a great single player in Doom and a great multiplayer that we built in Quake, and let them just kind of coexist.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it seems very PC skewed. They're talking about, 120 hertz frames per second. It seemed
Yeah,
like they're really going for that competitive PC Twitch, precision.
yeah. I mean, he straight up said, coming out for arena shooter coming for the PC. So there was never a mention of Xbox or PlayStation at all.
Which I think is good. I mean, if they can optimize it for, what they want to do and not have to, release a 30 frame per second version or a gimped version on a console.
Yeah.
So, I think it's, Quake really isn't my thing, but I think it was a good start. It was a brand that, has been out for a couple of years. So I think it was a good move, and I'm really interested to see how it develops over. I think QuakeCon is they're going to show more.
Yep.
But yeah, of course that.
I think the only issue I had with it is that I think they are seeing where Overwatch is successful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody's pretty much known Overwatch is going to be successful for months now, okay?
Yeah.
If not like a year. And they had said that each character has their own weapons and their own, powers and abilities or whatever. And it made me first wonder, do they have loadouts? But then watching that trailer, it was like, no, each one of them seems significantly different. Especially like, Homeboy who had the saw in his hand, the circular saw basically, pop out of his hand near the end of the trailer. And it's like, okay, no, they're just going to be classes. They're going to be the same thing as Overwatch.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, so you know what? You may not be picking up weapons and all that stuff, but if you kind of get to go class to class and, or maybe it's one of those things like, you know what? Maybe there's like 5 or 6 classes and it's 6-on-6 matches. And that way everybody in a sense is mirrored.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I don't want loadouts though, because if it has loadouts, it's not an arena shooter. Because that's not in a real arena style. The arena shooter is running in, grabbing weapons, killing your opponent for weapons, upgrades, whatever, or as Overwatch did, just make classes where everybody can pick the same ones if they want and swap out.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but hopefully find out more at QuakeCon and we'll all be happy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think, the first of many Overwatch clones or, trying to build off of Overwatch.
Yeah, which is pulling away from the arena shooter and more into what they're dubbing the hero shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Which there are other games. What is it? Was it Paladin or something like that? Paragon and there's quite a few of them that are coming out that are pretty interesting. Battleborn, just came out like a month ago. So yeah, so hopefully we'll see. Hopefully at QuakeCon they do have some more info.
Mm-hmm.
Now, From there, they went into a recap of last year, and one of the dumbest segues I've seen, because they recap on Elder Scrolls Online, Fallout Shelter, Fallout 4, and then like he emphasizes Doom and how well it was received and how well they did a remake of it. And you go, okay, this is either where they're going to finally announce a single player DLC and realize their error, or they're just going to go ahead and talk about the multiplayer DLC. And he hypes it up and moves right into the Legends card game, which just felt so weird to me.
Yeah, yeah. It's just I was waiting for him to say Hearthstone at some point.
No, it is. I think that's what people said last year too. It's like, you're making Hearthstone. It's the same thing that Lionhead Studios was doing with Fable.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're people are trying to cash in on Hearthstone.
Mm-hmm.
The same way people try to cash in on Clash of Clans on the phone, and and Bejeweled and all that stuff. You try to emulate it because you can see how successful it is.
Yeah.
And I think the mentality is, if you can pull in even just like 25% of what the top dog pulls, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe, I was thinking when I was watching that, it's like maybe they can tie it into their games. Maybe if you buy like the Skyrim remaster, you get like special cards, kind of like Blizzard does it to a certain extent. But it's just, it's just another. It's not going to be Hearthstone. It's not going to be nearly as popular. But I mean, they kind of have the lore with Elder Scrolls to do something sort of like that.
Yeah, they are doing like a single player campaign, which Hearthstone has in a sense. You can do the single player matches, and it has a little bit of story. Mm-hmm. But this seems like they're putting a story behind it.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm curious. It's I hope their expectations aren't that high for it, but maybe they can market it to be, cross-promote with other games they're coming out with, maybe special Dishonored 2 card pack or something, but
yeah,
we'll see.
That'd be kind of nifty, yeah. So then going through, the Legends stuff, which, by the way, did your stream cut out during that, or was that just mine?
Yes,
okay, good.
It did cut out, yeah.
Okay, I was wondering for a second. I was like, did this just go down? Did my internet screw up? I was like, all right. It came back up, and the trailer was in the same exact, or not the same spot, but the spot it should have been. It jumped the same amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, that seems weird. Maybe it cut out on them. So just wanted to make sure. But yep. So going from there, they talk some Fallout 4, and they update the DLCs. So you have the Contraptions DLC, which comes out next week. The Vault Tech one, where you create your own vault, basically Fallout Shelter in 3D.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Nuka World, the theme park, it looked like.
Yeah.
Which didn't show as much as the other two, but it looked like the Nuka World version of Disneyland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I'm excited for the vault one, to create your own vault. There's a lot of creation involved there, and I think the Nuka World is going to be like their story one, kind of like the Fall Harbor. But yeah, there wasn't a lot on that. But but 6 pieces of DLC on for season pass isn't bad. I mean, some of them are like what's the Contraption is the first one. That's kind of didn't really. I mean, it's okay, but it's good. They showed stuff, which was I'll keep coming back to, because they show they're doing something. They showed tangible stuff that's coming.
Yeah, and some of that stuff doesn't cost anything. So, when you get like the Contraptions, or even if it does, it doesn't cost like a normal expansion pack or big DLC. So it's like, when you do that, that still shows that you care, and 2, that you're actually putting in the effort to have people give you money. Yeah. It's the same thing like CD Projekt Red does. They do these big DLCs for The Witcher, but you see what they put into it. The fact that people are looking at was it this last was it God, I don't remember the name of it now. The newest one that just came out for Witcher 3, but even the one right before it, people were saying are some of the best DLCs that have ever come out, up until the Harbor one just came out for Fallout 4. So they're competing, but people are looking at it going like, this is worth more than like the $15.
Mm-hmm. Which is good for
Yeah, when you compare it to other games who go, yeah, here, can I have $15? Battlefront, can I have $15 to give you 2 heroes and a couple maps? Yeah, thank you. Jackasses. So yeah, so I'm kind of excited for that too. I haven't gotten all of the DLC for Fallout 4, but yeah, seeing like the Vault Tech one or Nuka World, I might have to pick those up.
Yeah, the Nuka World, I mean, again, because I like the content, I like the story stuff, and hopefully they'll go out with a bang and make it worthwhile.
Yep. And then speaking of Fallout Shelter, they announced that there is a big update coming for it,
Mm.
which I'm sure that most of us, I want to say, have played Fallout Shelter.
Oh yeah.
I think everybody I know actually has played it at some point in time. Everybody was hyped for it at last year's E3 when it came out.
Hmm.
But new locations, new enemies, a new combat system, so that's getting revamped. Instead of just letting your guys shoot, it looks like you can actually control who they shoot. And it's coming out for the PC finally. You don't have to use the apps on your computer, the Bluebird or whatever the hell it was called, to emulate an Android. You can actually play it on your computer now.
That's good. Yeah, happy about that.
Yeah, so yeah, because I hated, like, I have it on my iPad and I had it on my old Nexus phone, and I don't think I put it on my S7. But because starting over, again and again kind of sucks. But yeah, it's one of those, like, I don't want to have to sit there and play it on my phone all the time. If I can have it on my computer when I'm just up at night and stuff, and I can kind of leave it running and check it, do that thing,
Hmm.
that'd be great.
Yeah, yeah. I think it'll do well, and it's just another way to play it. And, like I say, you can be doing something, just surfing, and still play it. So it's good that they're moving it to PC.
Yeah, you get people like me. I'm home with my kids and stuff, and it's like, okay, I'm going back and forth a lot. I can't sit here and play a game, you know. So now it's like I can turn it on, send people out to, the wasteland, set up some stuff, and then I can come back periodically and just kind of check.
Hmm.
See if my stuff's been all destroyed because a bunch of rad roaches came in and my people weren't equipped right.
Hmm.
Not saying that's happened before.
No, not at all.
All right, so then so after that, they confirmed, I guess, the Skyrim special edition. I guess a couple weeks ago it wasn't officially confirmed; it was just pretty much known.
Hmm.
It wasn't one of those rumors that they were really heavily denying. So yeah, I think the one big thing that came with that though is that a lot of people thought that it wasn't going to come out on PC, and then the graphic they showed had the PC box, the
Hmm.
PS4, and the Xbox One. So it is getting a remaster even for the PC.
Yeah, and
So
on Bethesda Twitter, they said if you're a PC owner and you own Skyrim and all the DLC, you get the upgrade for free.
oh, see, I did not get to see
Yep.
that.
Yep, it's on their Twitter.
I might have to check that.
Yep.
That might be one of those things. If you're only down by like one DLC, maybe pick that up real quick.
Yeah, Steam sale coming up.
Yes, yes, there's Steam sale going on. I know GOG has one right now, but I
Hmm.
don't know if Steam has one.
Yeah,
Where's
but
that
yeah,
summer sale at?
that would be good, and it makes sense. I mean, for for the PC owners that have it already. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, it's interesting that they're doing mods on the console. I guess from Fallout 4 they've learned. But if I didn't have a PC, it'd definitely be something I'd look at. I really enjoyed the game, but it's one of the things we expected. But
I kind of wonder, because if you see the pictures of the mods for Skyrim and all the other games that come out on PC like that now,
hmm.
the mods make it look so good, like photorealistic, to the point where like a lot of times you can run all the mods and literally not move in the game because your computer can't handle it, even for high-end computers. It's like,
Oh,
what can they do if they do a revamped version of Skyrim and then people get to build these mods off of
oh
that?
gosh.
It's like, so that's what I'm excited for, to see what else people can do with it.
Hmm.
And, I need to see like Thomas the Tank Engine back in these games and stuff. If you ever watch some of those mods, oh my gosh, people are crazy.
Uh,
Let's see. So after Skyrim, we had something that we predicted, and I know I brought it up in our prediction show. Was Prey 2, which had been announced, canceled, semi re-announced, and then left in limbo for like 3 years, and it came out tonight that it is not even Prey 2 anymore. It's being completely rebooted as Prey. So
yeah, and it looked I remember the original Prey. I was so excited to get it back from my 360. And I'm interested to see how they tie it, if it's how they tie it into the lore, but it looked very different, futuristic, you
yeah,
know,
see, it to me it looked like a reboot.
yeah, it's probably, yeah, it's a reboot, and it looked really interesting. It looked very interesting how they, kept repeating that scene over and over originally, and it just
Yep,
kind of,
the Groundhog's Day moment.
yeah, and then it kind of looked a little Dead Spacey, and it looks a little Dishonored. It looks really good, and I'm interested to see more of it, maybe
See,
next year.
and I'm glad you brought up the Dishonored thing, because that was something I noticed and put down in my notes, was that they said we've got a new IP. So I didn't think it was Prey right away because some people were expecting Prey 2, And I'm watching this going, okay, new IP, and they do the Groundhog's Day thing, and then when it starts to show a little bit of the gameplay ish stuff, when they're setting that up, I was
Hmm.
like, it looked a lot like Dishonored, and I'm wondering if that's just kind of how they're gonna go with some stuff. They're gonna have, like Quake and Doom look like one way, and Prey and Dishonored and anything else they do like that look another.
That could be
It's
just.
yeah, it's just like their style. Because I kind of thought that too, that it looked an awful lot like Dishonored, which I'm sitting there going, I know it's not Dishonored because they said it's a new IP. And there's
Mhm.
no way they're doing Dishonored 2 now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the game though, yeah, looked really cool. What was it? Morgan Yu was the character's name.
Hmm.
Set on a space station that gets overrun by aliens or whatever it is. Stuff goes crazy. He apparently goes through Groundhog's Day and gets some bloodshot eyes, some real bloodshot eyes. So yeah, it looked interesting. I mean, they didn't show a whole lot more than that. They gave a release date or a time frame because they said it'll be available next year.
Hmm.
So, and hopefully this doesn't wind up like the initial announcement for Prey 2 and just, disappears.
I hope not. It looked good, and it looked different, but yet still has the same like threads of Dishonored. So probably next year at this conference there'll be their big blowout for it if that's going to be their big game.
Yeah, that could be one of their big stuff. Well, you figure next year will probably be Quake Champions.
Hmm.
Dishonored 2 is going to be out before then. So yeah, it'll probably be this Quake Champions, and then maybe a couple other little things that they'll announce here or there. Maybe it'll be the next Elder Scrolls game or something.
Yeah, the Fallout card game.
There you go, Fallout Legends.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, so yeah, so moving on. Then it was they finally, which now I don't know why this wasn't earlier in the show. Like I said, they did that big build up for Doom, so they did Prey, and then they talked about the DLC for Doom
Hmm.
because order is not needed.
No, not at all.
So it was really weird that was the follow up. But they announced the first official DLC, the one that comes with the season pass. No mention whatsoever of a campaign DLC, which a lot of people are wanting. And I know that wasn't part of their season pass, but I think with the reaction that they got to their multiplayer and their single player, you would think that they would reverse course a little bit and go, okay, we're gonna do a single player DLC. We've heard the public,
Hmm.
we've heard the fan base. We're gonna at least do one. And I think a lot of people were actually expecting them to do that. They weren't gonna be like, oh yeah, it comes out next month, but just be like, we're working on it, and hopefully we'll have it out by the end of the year.
Yeah, because I knew. Yeah, I thought even if he had said something, like the guy who was talking, say, "Yeah, you know, we're blown away by the response to the single player campaign, so we started work." Just say something like that. I mean, they said
Yeah,
nothing. They were just plugging the multiplayer maps and this new snap map stuff.
yeah.
But yeah, I really expected them to say something about an expansion of some sort.
Yep. And not to toot my own horn, but I will. If you go to my review of Doom, for the second time, I think I've brought that up here. I had mentioned the issues with snap maps or what can make them successful, which was support from the development team and the community, but needing to definitely put out things. They got to put out patches, they got to add some extra stuff to it. And the fact that like Hell wasn't included in that. You could only build indoor structures that were on Mars. You couldn't build Hell stuff, and now they're adding that. Okay, that was great. Um, so doing those updates, doing it for free. But then they also got to the multiplayer, which I had bagged on too and said that was the big negative to this. And there wasn't enough modes. There wasn't anything to distinguish it. There wasn't anything that made it feel like the original Doom. And it was just funny that they had to announce that they were putting in capture the flag and traditional team deathmatch.
Yeah,
This is
that's
2016 with a first person shooter, and you had to announce, like do a special announcement to include two of the most standard modes in a first person shooter multiplayer game.
yeah, that says a lot about their multiplayer roadmap from beginning because yeah, those are basic, especially for a game like Doom. You kind of deathmatch, you kind of expect it. So
Yeah. And they did these couple weird modes, and it wasn't traditional deathmatch, and now they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna put that in. Like you should have put it in from the start.
yeah,
It's like that they even said they did their little quiz show before the show started. When the stream went live, they were doing this Bethesda quiz show, And one
Mhm.
of the questions they even go, what is considered the first true uh, first person shooter, online shooter? And it was Doom. And they even said it was nicknamed Team Deathmatch 1.0. And they even acknowledged that they knew that Doom was considered the first true deathmatch, online shooter. And they didn't put it in the game.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't get that. And well,
Yeah.
hopefully now under new leadership, the multiplayer will improve, and and the snap map stuff, the stuff they're adding looks like they even mentioned that you could create a lot more robust single player content. So maybe
Yep,
that
they
will
were
have to
going to
entice
throw
them.
in all the content and stuff from the single player game.
Hmm. So it's hopefully they'll turn it around and make it more bearable or more fun to play.
Yeah. I mean, it can't get any worse. It can only get better, and it looks like they're trying to make it
Yeah,
better.
they're trying, which is in the world of Overwatch now and stuff, and Quake coming up soon. They really have to do something to make people want to keep the
Yep.
game after they're done with the campaign.
Yep. And then, real quick too, they also announced that they were going to do shareware. Yeah, the first level
Yeah.
of Doom was coming out for free, only for a week though.
Uh-huh.
But I think that's pretty good. I think there's a lot of people still that were a little iffy about getting it.
Hmm.
We're like, oh, I'm gonna wait for a sale. And now they can play, they can see. And maybe it'll entice a few people to buy it a little early. But with like the Steam Summer Sale coming up, I'm sure it's gonna be on sale. So, but this is a nice testing period for some people.
Yeah, it's a good idea, even though it's like the death of the word demo. It's either now, shareware or beta or, something.
I
But
just I just like the fact that he even had to go, because back in the day, as old people used to call that's what we used to call a beta,
yeah.
shareware. And it's like I'm sitting here going, "Hey, I know what shareware is," and I went, "Oh, I'm one of those old people he's talking about."
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like that's not good. Anyway, and I want to breeze through this part because I don't care too much about it. ESO, Elder Scrolls Online.
Mm.
They said it. Crowd went bananas. That one chick wouldn't shut up. Uh, they gave stats on what people have done in game. Same thing that like, World of Warcraft has done, Blizzard has done. Everybody kind of does it for their games nowadays. They talked about the Dark Brotherhood, which is already out on PC, comes out next week on consoles. They're the big thing for them is that they were getting rid of the level restrictions and content barriers, kind of like what WoW is doing with Legion, except that it appears that they're going to do, or they even said they're doing it throughout their whole entire game,
Yeah,
which is kind of amazing.
yeah. I don't understand that. I mean, you know, basically you can do anything, it seems to like really you can breeze through. Well, I guess the game is really big and there's a lot of content there, but
Yeah,
I don't know what they're trying to do. I mean, they've revamped it so many times. They just got rid of
yeah.
the rank.
Well, I think they're trying to fix the problem that Blizzard has with WoW, because Legion's getting ready to come out. Okay,
Hmm.
and let's say like I play World of Warcraft and you don't, and I say you should come play this. Legion comes out, you would not be able to do anything with me for the longest time. You would need to level up and catch up, and that's why with their new area, they are in WoW, they are doing it that you can kind of hop around zones and you'll scale a little bit and you can do quests with your buddies and stuff. That way, like if you're questing and then your friends get online, you're like, oh, I can come over and actually quest with you. Instead of having to be like, oh, I already quested there, or I can't do that yet because I'm too high level now, or I'm too low level, or whatnot. And it appears that's how they're trying to fix it in Elder Scrolls. That like if you play right now and you were to invite a friend, your friend could literally come with you and do the stuff that you're doing right now. And I'm sure what they do is they have a scale modifier in there. So your base stats scale to a certain degree. And then once you equip stuff, it scales to a certain degree, based on level and the stats. So, you may not, you can't go out and be like, level 5 and be, top dog, like a true raider,
Hmm.
but you'll be able to compete. You'll be able to actually, hold your own. You may not be able to go do like super raiding if they have raids in that game. I don't even know.
I don't
But
think so.
yeah, but you would be able to compete. And I
Hmm.
think that's what they're trying to do. So if you literally came in today, you could go play with your buddies right away. And then you can kind of go back and do the low level stuff and catch up the normal way. So thought that was kind of cool. You know, but like I said, don't really play ESO, so it wasn't that big to me. But then the semi surprise was that they brought up VR gaming, where they announced that they're doing a Doom tour. So you can go around the world of Doom, so Mars and Hell. They didn't really say what platform that was for, but
Mm-hmm.
since it is just a tour, since it's just walking around and being able to experience it, I have an odd feeling it's going to come out for all of them. Or
Mm-hmm.
if anything, it's going to come out for at least Vive and the PSVR,
Mm-hmm.
because Bethesda has a bit of a legal issue with a guy
Yes.
who works on the Rift,
Mm-hmm.
which became very apparent when you think about it in the announcement of their next one, which was Fallout 4. Not a tour, not a demo. The full game is coming out on Vive exclusively.
Yeah, and I think isn't this maybe the biggest VR title? I mean, this is a triple A.
As of right now,
Big
because we don't know
what
what
Sony's doing.
Sony, yeah, what Sony's announcing tomorrow, but for anything as of right now that's announced for the Oculus, the Vive, anything we know for the PSVR, anything that's even been talked about, yeah, this would be the absolute biggest game that's going to hit VR as of right now.
Yeah, and it should be interesting. I mean, this is, I don't know if this is quite a system seller. I'm curious how they're gonna run. Was it 90 frames per second in the headset? Maybe you're gonna need a 1080
You're
to
gonna
run
need a
it.
couple of them. You're gonna need to run them in SLI,
Yeah, at least, but
because yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
unless they really reduce graphics quality on it. But I'm very curious to see what they do with it. And it was a big, I wasn't expecting it, and but yeah,
Yeah, it
I'm
was definitely a surprise. I have an odd feeling they're gonna lock it at the console version.
hmm
They'll take like the Xbox One version, and before any, I don't need any fanboys that may eventually ever hear this, jumping on my or down my throat and jumping on my head and stuff of favoritism. But the Xbox One games are at a lower resolution, lower frame rate, all that stuff than PC games and PS4 games. So maybe that's what they use,
yeah.
because it'll probably run at like 720 and it'll be 30 frames per second, which can look fine.
hmm
I know some people say that, like, oh, the Xbox One doesn't do this, and I know with the Scorpio coming out, they're gonna be like, oh, now we can do it, but it doesn't matter too much.
No.
If a game can still look good nowadays, that's why I hate comparison videos too. When they're like, oh, here's what the Xbox One looks like to the PC. Okay, but they still look good. If I put the Xbox on my TV, it's still gonna look good while I play it.
hmm
GTA 5 looks amazing on my Xbox, and it looks amazing on my PC
Yeah.
or my PS4. It's like, yeah, so maybe it's not, super balls to the wall awesome, but who cares? It still looks good.
It doesn't play well. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Can you play the game without, running at 10 frames a second or?
Yeah. So I have an odd feeling that's what they'll use for Fallout 4, but we'll
Hmm.
have to wait and see. I mean, they did say that is 2017, so obviously it's going to take them some time to port it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it ain't coming out this year, but we'll see how that happen or that goes. Um, and then they had the big daddy of them all, where in this is where EA can learn, because EA had a game that was their big daddy in Battlefield 1, and they showed a little bit and they talked a little bit, but that was it. Bethesda said we have Dishonored 2, and then they what felt like showing me the whole entire game
Yeah, it was
with content.
great.
They came with just stuff.
I mean, they talked about the graphics engine and a couple of different scenes. It wasn't just the same scenario. They showed different scenarios, different powers, and they did a good job of setting it up.
Yeah, they had that first highlight reel of the world,
hmm
which part of me at first went, if this is all you show is the world, I'm gonna be so mad.
hmm
But I mean, and what was it, a Carnaga or Carnica? I forget how it
Yeah.
was pronounced. But yeah, but they showed off tons and different lighting and all that stuff, and that's when they were explaining the engine, that they built their own engine for it. And it's like, okay, cool. And then they're like, here, we've shown you the world. How about we show you some of the story? Oh, we showed you some of the story. How about we show you some of the gameplay? We showed you some of the gameplay. Let's show you more. Let's start to emphasize powers and how this mission works. And it's like, you guys are breaking down everything. I don't even need a tutorial now. I feel like if they put out Dishonored 2 tomorrow, I could hop in and be perfectly fine.
hmm And you get a free copy of the first game.
Yeah, and I can get the first one too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was just crazy though, because they're, the amount of stuff, because even Dishonored 1 had a lot of stuff. You could do missions tons of different ways. You could do the no kill method. You could do the total kill method. And they're like, yeah, this time not only can you get that, but then you have some missions where you can, be a little sneaky or not, or you can side with this faction, or you can side with this other faction, or you can side with neither and not get a bonus and have the missions play out different, which I'm sure in the grand scheme of things won't affect the ending or anything too much. Is it's not going to be like, I don't think there's going to be a huge choice. I think it's all going to be the illusion of choice. But the fact that they at least let you get from point A to point B through a few different paths is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think the story is going to change a whole lot, but as long as I can kind of play it my way to get there, I like that. That's pretty cool. And then showing off the powers, and I think everybody knew that both characters were going to be playable. That Corvo and Emily were going to both be playable. It was interesting seeing Corvo without his mask for so long, because I just I think back to Dishonored, I always just picture the mask. So it was weird seeing him without it. But when they got to like the levels being played out, and that dust storm rolled in, and she pointed it out, and it lowered everybody's visibility. I was like, that is a cool little effect. And that's right when they mentioned wind's gonna play a factor, and you can see all the windmills and stuff around the turbines and everything. It's like that's gonna play into how you do these levels. Like, that's cool. So it's not just powers; it's the actual level. The whole level is built around an experience. It doesn't look linear. It doesn't look like, okay, I have to do this. She looked up at like that crane. I was like, okay, she's going to zip up there and cut something and do something or whatnot. And it's like, that looks obvious. It's like, oh, but no, she's just going to walk, or teleport up to the side of the building, kill somebody. The storm's going to come and she's going to go back to killing. It's like, they set it up perfect that you thought she was going to do like this stealthy, sneaky thing. And it was like, no, I'm going to stealth a little bit and then I'm just going to start stabbing people. So, I mean, right there, they kind of showed just how they are building this game.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great example. And I don't know I don't even think that's going to be one of the most appreciated parts of it. But to me, that's where it stuck. Because they flat out, like, without even saying it, they just showed you different paths right there and just did one.
Yeah.
And I think everybody's just going to focus on the fighting. And it's like, no, they straight up showed you where else you could go and then just didn't do it.
And this is exactly what a demo for an E3 should be. Show you actual gameplay and show you the different facets of the game. And this is what every company, EA didn't do. It's just, their big game for the fall. They showed a great amount of, gameplay, different skills, and that's exactly the textbook way of doing it.
Are you saying you're not happy with the fact that Zac Efron did not come out and play this game?
It would have, just to see that expression, it would have been, maybe he would have smiled.
I went back and watched that real quick, and that was funny. He rolled his eyes real quick, and then like he put on his fake smile, and it's like, yeah, dude, I'm sure he probably likes to play. I shouldn't bag on him for wanting to play. Anybody can play a game. I don't care. But he just looks so uninterested in doing like what they were doing right then.
Yeah. And that's another thing. I mean, Bethesda, they had their PR guy as the MC. They had developers talking. They didn't do any shtick with famous people. It was just about the games. And that resonated with me, and that's what this is all about. It's not, pomp and circumstance. Just show me what you want me to buy.
Yeah. And I almost kind of feel like what EA was trying to do, to compare, I know we're supposed to be talking Bethesda, is EA, I think, was trying to do what Nintendo does. Except for they don't have the charm that Nintendo does. EA came out, and we're doing this, and we're doing this for charity, and we do this. Nintendo comes out, and it's like, we have kid games. We have a kid system. Yes, we know we have hardcore gamers, and we have a few hardcore, gamer style games. We have, Bayonetta 2, and even Smash Brothers is considered a hardcore style game, even though it looks like a kid's game. It's like, but they go out there and they have fun. They have puppets and music and people coming out being stupid and playing instruments with their Wii controllers and stuff. But they can do this, even how ridiculous it is. And I think it was it the year that, was it the year that Wii U was announced and they did the Wii music, and Miyamoto's on stage, acting like he's playing stuff, and the other dude playing the weird drums. It was so stupid, but it was Nintendo still.
Yeah.
EA came out this year and just like, look at us. We have trailers, but we do all this other stuff. Don't worry, you'll buy our things. And yeah, it felt forced.
Yeah.
And then Bethesda comes out and does the exact opposite. They're like, no, we don't have the personality and the charm that Nintendo does and Reggie has and all that stuff.
Hmm.
But we have games that are respected and awesome. And
Yes.
we're just gonna give you all the games.
Hmm.
Just we're gonna you want trailers? We got all the trailers.
Yeah.
You want gameplay? We got all the gameplay. Here you go.
Yeah. That's the way it should be done. I mean, they filled that hour. They started late, but they had their crap together and they showed what they've got this year and next year, and that's the right way to do it. No
Yeah.
fluff, no, we're gonna have 3 games in 2018, but here's a conceptual art, and we'll tell you more next year, which will probably be a CG trailer, and
They're gonna go the Mass Effect route. Is that what you're hinting
yes,
at?
they'll show a couple of talking, couple of seconds of in-engine stuff, and yeah, that's
Yeah.
EA.
Yeah. And so yeah, it was great that they did. I mean, the Dishonored 2 stuff ran for 20 something minutes. It was like 22 minutes. And it was good from start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's, so hopefully, that's the same route everybody else is going tomorrow. I know Sony does theirs a little different. Microsoft does theirs a little different, because I'm sure they're going to talk about all the fun apps and dashboard stuff you can do on your Xbox One. But, they can still put on good shows.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking that Sony's going to be winner this year.
Yeah, they've
but
got, yeah.
yeah, but Bethesda was a solid.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and one thing we didn't mention real quick too with Dishonored 2, the collector's edition.
Yes, it
Let's
looks.
catch up with that real quick.
Yeah, it's got the mask and the ring, and it's not $250. It's like $99.99.
Yeah,
So,
which makes me worry a little bit about that mask.
mhm.
I mean, because like Titanfall 2 has a $250 collector's edition with a big helmet that lights up,
Mhm.
because it's a big manufactured helmet. This thing is still like $100 or $120, whatever it was, and it has that mask and that ring. And I'm sitting there going, I don't think that mask is gonna fit anybody. I'm kind of thinking it's not like fully life size. And I
Yeah.
looked back at the picture real quick, and it didn't look super huge. And I'm worried that it's not, like a full fledged mask. It's like
Yeah.
it's like a 6.5 inch that's gonna stand. It's gonna be propped up on a stand,
Mhm.
especially for that price. But you never know.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's, I mean, they seem to have him. Last year was the Pip-Boy, and this year it's the Dishonored thing. I wonder, what they would do for something like Quake. Well, Doom
Quake's
had the
gonna
cool had the
Quake is coming with a rocket launcher.
ooh. Stolen?
There you go. Yeah, it is loaded and ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
$250, you get Quake and a rocket launcher.
I can do that. I can do that.
Yeah, I would do that. I couldn't pull the trigger on the Final Fantasy 15 Collector's Edition, but I will pull the trigger on Quake if it gives me a rocket launcher.
There you go.
Day one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, final thoughts. I mean, pass, fail, anything for Bethesda you wanted else, anything else you wanted to say?
Definite pass. It was great. I mean, they have that at the beginning. They had that little Wolfenstein Easter egg where they had the list of all the games right before it started. They had something called New Colossus, which is supposed to be the new Wolfenstein game.
Mm-hmm.
That's missing the date, and all the others had dates. That was kind of cool. But it was all about content. They showed stuff. There was, it was just really a solid, when I can look at a show and it goes quickly for me, then I know it's a good show and it's stuff I'm interested in playing. And, they teased stuff like Prey and Quake, but they had something substantial to show instead of just a picture. So definite pass.
Yep, and I gotta say pass for me too. And you brought it up because I had totally forgotten. That intro was great, doing the old, DOS, sign in and stuff, and you saw the Quake thing pop up, and that's when I knew right away. When I saw Quake, I was like, they're gonna start with Quake.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't even expect them to.
Yeah,
I was expecting, maybe like an Elder Scrolls expansion or something to kick it off, and they started with Quake. I was like, oh, cool. And yeah, so I forgot all about this. Yeah, that was great. The flow went pretty good. Yeah, it had a couple, slower parts, talking about Legends, talking about, ESO. But for the most part, I mean, they explained exactly what they work on and why people that play these games, and this is why we still talked about ESO earlier, is there are people that play these games and care. And you know what? And for the people that play them and do care, they still gave them something. Something I feel like EA didn't do.
No, unless you like FIFA.
Yeah. I mean, hell, they talked about Galaxy of Heroes real quick, but didn't say anything that they're really doing with it. They showed a couple quick snippets. They talked about the Old Republic, but didn't talk about anything of like the Knights of, what is it? Not Knights of the Old Republic, but Knights of whatever the heck they're doing right now for this latest expansion, the episodic stories. They didn't mention any of that. They just showed a picture. And it's like, Battlefront. They didn't touch it all on Bespin or the Death Star DLCs at all. They just showed pictures real quick.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you have all this stuff to expand on, and you didn't. And Bethesda went, you know what? We don't have as much as somebody like EA because they're a publisher and we're just a developer. But here's what we do have. I guess actually Bethesda is more into the publisher realm now.
Mm-hmm.
But still, they're like, we don't have tons, but you know what we do have? Tons of info for that little bit we do.
Exactly.
And so that was great. So yeah, definite pass. So
yeah.
Yep.
Right.
So hopefully tomorrow, good Sony show, good Microsoft, good Ubisoft, whatever, and yeah, hopefully Wildlands doesn't suck.
If I see something at Ubi, I'm just like, okay, wait till I actually play it to make sure that's actually legitimate graphics and
yeah,
downgrade it. But yeah, should be an interesting day tomorrow. Kind of weird without Nintendo, but
yep. All right, well, so we will hopefully see everybody again tomorrow. We'll do another one of these, and hopefully we'll finish it off in a chipper mood and not tell somebody to go suck it like we did EA.
Pretty much.
Yep. Good. So good on you, Bethesda.
Yes, good job.